Full of frustration. Full of despair. From years of hurt, disappointment, and relegation. Two British football fans have had enough. Canary bird Elliot Holman and Wanderer Henry Hewitt are in search of glory, pride, passion, in search of silverware. And they found Major League Soccer.
One day, and it isn't today, one day that intro will be outdated. Why is it always so accurate?
Poor Norwich. Finally put out your misery. Well, you was already relegated, but put out your Premier League misery with a 5-0 defeat to Tottenham. But hey, let's look at positives though. Premier League, Jesse Marsch kept Leeds up.
Yep.
I mean, for MLS, it's a pot, not for Norwich, because obviously you went down, but it didn't matter to you anyway. But that's good, isn't it? And Jack Harrison got the goal right at the end.
Yeah, that's good, isn't it?
Oh,
Remember when Josh Sargent was in America? Can he go back?
Give him chance in the Championship. He'll score at least 6 goals for you.
If he doesn't get 20 in the Championship, then there's something wrong, honestly.
But Jesse Marsch, it's great. This is the thing for MLS. The more coaches that come over, and let's be honest, Marsch keeping Leeds up is a success. Is a good starting point. Then it's going to be beneficial for the league. So all good. I was very happy for him. I liked when Harrison scored and he celebrated, then turned round and just slipped. So he became like a pylon. But no, very good for Jesse Marsch. So well done. Congratulations if you support Leeds. I don't know if there's many Burnley fans who listen to this, but commiserations to you.
Welcome to relegation. You'll get used to it.
Yeah. Norwich losing 5-0 wasn't the worst thing.
Keep going on about it.
I know, but it wasn't the worst thing to happen to you this weekend, was it? If you don't follow us on social media, please start doing at MLS UK Show, Instagram and Twitter.
You're not posting those pictures or the videos.
No, well, to be fair, there's some embarrassing things went on this weekend, but nothing more embarrassing for you than what we made you dress in on Saturday, because you had half the day in one shirt and then the other half in another shirt.
And still those pictures aren't the worst thing that happened.
So for those who don't follow us, and if you don't, please do, or if you don't have social media, get a family member too so you can see what we're up to. It was Elliot's stag weekend. The wedding's coming up in about 6 weeks. And we posted a photo on our social media on Saturday evening because Saturday morning we wanted to embarrass you based on your English alliance. And as we found out, you support Norwich. So what team shirt did we make you wear?
Ipswich Town.
Ipswich Town. And then in the evening, we thought, that's enough of that. So let's embarrass you some more. So as an Orlando fan, we made you dress up in an Atlanta United shirt. And on the 2 photos that I got on my phone anyway, you actually looked more upset wearing the Atlanta shirt.
Yeah. Do you know what? A lot of things made me feel sick this weekend. We won't go into a lot of them. But yeah, the Atlanta shirt was a particular low.
Yeah, it came at the end of the day where you thought nothing else could go wrong.
Yeah, what could possibly go wrong? What else could they have up their sleeve?
It was an Atlanta shirt. So thanks if you commented on the photo and had banter with it. It is banter. A few people were a bit worried for you, but no. Elliot, fair play to you. You took it in good spirits. You took the whole weekend in good spirits. And one day, maybe on our last ever episode, we'll reveal exactly what has happened.
Oh my God,
on
no,
Elliot's stag do.
not even then. For as long as I have a heartbeat, no one is seeing the videos from what happened on Friday night.
Do you know on iPhones where you've got that section that's like for your eyes only?
Yeah.
I've had to put a lot of them in there just in case my phone. Yeah, because I'd hate for them to get on the internet.
I went to, I deleted them and then immediately went to recently deleted and deleted them again.
But anyway, well, congratulations. We're all looking forward to the wedding. So
I might be able to sit down by then.
Oh, anyway, moving on. Moving on. Right, MLS UK show. Busy weekend of MLS action. We had matches in the week as well, so we've got lots to talk about. But first, let's start the podcast like we always do with a game with a changing name.
Yes, so I'm going to read you the career path of a player who's played in the UK and in MLS. And this is a player I had no idea. I feel really bad because I've actually seen how involved in MLS he's been. I had no idea. Started their career at Laval in 1996.
I'm presuming that's a French team.
And then they moved to Liverpool.
Liverpool. What, late 90s, early noughties?
Liverpool, 99.
Right.
Stayed there, made 88 appearances between 99 and 2006. Went on loan to Lens in France for a year. Played for Charlton, played for Portsmouth, Birmingham City, Monaco, Marseille, and retired at Seattle Sounders, where he became assistant coach. And how this passed me by, I have no idea. I honestly did not know that he was assistant at Seattle. So my apologies. He was only there for 5 seasons in my defence. So probably should have got onto that one a little bit sooner. But that's today's game with a changing name. Henry Hewitt, any suggestions?
Well, when you said to me, you went through those teams. Off air, you didn't actually go through those teams, sorry. You said to me 2 facts. You said they were a coach at Seattle and they'd scored an own goal against Burnley in the FA Cup 3rd round. And as sad as I am, those 2 facts are the ones that got it for me. The FA Cup 3rd round one. When we reveal who it is, YouTube the own goal against Burnley because it is quite funny. And also,
can't I remember it?
I think when you'll see it, you'll remember it. And also, I last year watched the Steve Zakuani documentary, the Seattle Sounders play, which is very good as well. Watch that. And he turns up in that, and you just clogged that little ticking, a little ding in my memory was like, oh yeah, I did know it. So I know who it is. I'm pretty confident about this. But then again, we might get to the end and I might find out that it's, I don't know, Sammy Hoopier's secret career. And I got it wrong. But if you know, get in touch at MLS UK Show on Twitter, Instagram, email us hello@mls.show. Or if you're watching on YouTube, stick it in the comments and it leaves a timestamp so we know where we're up to in the podcast. So we know if you go back to the end and then come back, that's not allowed. That's cheating.
Yes, we will find out somehow. Before we crack on with the podcast and we play some games and we look back at last weekend's action and look at what's coming up this week, let's have a word from our sponsors, which is actually us talking about the sponsors.
The MLS UK Show.
Told you, just us again. Don't forget, we are sponsored by soccer90.com. It's the place to go for all of your MLS merch. In fact, not just MLS merch, but club merch worldwide. And in fact, as we head towards the World Cup, maybe scoop yourself some international gear as well.
Yes, and now as the European seasons are coming to a close and all the new jerseys are being released, you can actually pick up those new jerseys on soccer90.com as well. I'm just on the website here, and I've noticed that the brand new Liverpool shirt is becoming available. They're advertising that. They've obviously got the jerseys from last season as well. So tons to look at. It's I'm not doing it any justice because I've actually been distracted while scrolling down here. But while you're on the website, check it out. If you're on your phone listening to MLS UK Show, why don't you do it now? Not on YouTube because you miss out what we're seeing. But if you go to Soccer90, decide what you want, head to the checkout, and in the checkout, in the discount code, type in MLS UK, you get 20% off as well.
MLS UK Show with Elliot Holman and Henry Hewitt.
So let's have a look. What happened this weekend in MLS? Elliot, where do you want to start?
Anywhere but Austin, I think.
Okay, let's start in Cincinnati then. It ended Cincinnati 2, New England Revolution 3. This was on Saturday evening. What a game this was. And Cincinnati, who'd have thought that we'd get to this point in the season at this time and go, Cincinnati's losing to New England Revolution was a bit of an upset.
Yeah.
It's amazing, isn't it? Cincinnati had won 4 in a row before this. And it finished 3-2. Where should we start with this one? Because there were 5 goals. Some of the goals were incredible. Like Leggett scored to make it 1-0 to New England Revolution with like a bicycle kick. Then Buxer made it 2-1, but with a cheeky flick as he were falling over. Great play all round. In the end, it was Tommy McNamara, of all people, curling it in from the edge of the area with another great strike. So it ended 3-2. And New England unbeaten in 4 now in the league. So they kind of turn it around a little bit.
The highlight of this game for me was that we were on the dance floor of a club in Oxford on my stag do. And Henry's like showing me the opening New England Revolution goal on his phone.
Yeah, we were a bit. I had a few drinks, and you were near me, and I went, "Oh, look at that! Look at that goal! That's a great goal."
Focus, Henry, focus. But yeah, no, you're right. Cincinnati losing at home as well to New England Revolution. If you'd have shown me a clip of us being surprised by that at the start of the season, I would have been very puzzled. But Cincinnati still clinging on to that playoff spot. But of course, as we talked about, New England coming from deep, and is exactly what we expected to happen.
Yeah, exactly. If you look at Cincinnati's next 5, I've got it here. They've got Montreal away, Philadelphia away, Orlando at home, New York City FC at home, then any Revs again away.
It's huge.
Tough games, and I think we'll really see what Cincinnati are going to do. If Cincinnati is still in and around the playoffs after those 5 games, then maybe we can start to believe that something special could happen. And by that, I mean in the loosest possible term of just making the playoffs or attempting to make the playoffs. New England Revolution, coming up slowly. You'd think surely after last season, I know Columbus struggled last year after a great season the year before. Surely any Revs can put something together and finish a lot higher than 9th.
They have to. It's essential for me with the roster they've got, and we've talked about this in the previous episode. You fully expect them to be one of the teams that I would almost guarantee. Definitely on that Seattle level of, definitely going to do it. Also a lot of goals in DC and also a lot of goals in Nashville. Where would you like to go?
Well, we'll go DC first because there's been a weather delay in Nashville, so we'll delay talking about that one. DC 2, Toronto 2. First of all, shout out to James, DC United Kingdom. Check them out. Check him out on YouTube and Twitter and your podcast provider as well. He went over for the first time in years, and it looks like he's had so much fun. He spoke to some people around the club as well. So great for him, and it was great seeing that from this side of a pond as well. But he couldn't get a win for DC. 1-0, 1-1, 2-1, and then Jonathan Osorio equalised for Toronto in the 89th minute.
So he was so close.
He was so close, which when we go over, you want to see your team win so badly, don't you? Because at least he got a draw.
Happened to me once.
Yeah, you had a habit. You was a bit of a jinx, weren't you, for Orlando? But DC now, they're in 11th. They kind of disrupted start to the season. They've got 4 of the next 5 away, though. So it could be a struggle as we head into the summer, head into like a little break that we're going to have over the summer. Are they looking at the second half of the season as they're trying to get into the playoffs?
I'm worrying for them. I really am. I'm looking at the teams below thinking they could easily leapfrog them in the next couple of weeks with the difficult games that they've got coming up. And as we discussed, the change of manager seemed harsh.
Yeah.
The roster doesn't seem good enough for me. I think it's really, really poor bit of business from the front office. So yeah, I'm feeling for DC UK and those fans at the minute. We'll find out what happens next.
Edison Flores got his first goal of the season. Of course, Taxi has scored recently as well. So they're starting to get goals into their games. But Toronto FC, they're below them in 13th. However, we know they've got reinforcements coming. We also know that they've got 5 of the next 6 at home. And Akinola come back as well. For ACL injuries, he's been out for a long time. His first 90 minutes of the season, he got his first goal, which is great for him. And with a player Insignia coming in, he could be someone, and a bit of an unsung hero that could really help them push up the league.
Yeah, anyone returning after that long is a huge, huge boost because you can't just go out and get another player. You can't just go out and find somebody of equal quality. It's going to count against your salary cap. If you know that they're going to be back at some point in the season, you can't put them on that season-ending injury list. They're going to be on your roster and they're going to be counting towards the cap. So it's very different to other leagues in that respect. So it's a big boost for Toronto, that.
Definitely. Let's go to Nashville then. 2-2 against Atlanta. A weather delay. Do you know what? We're going to talk a bit about the weather delays later. This was the game that really... Well, what I'm going to have a moan about is this watching the goals of this game really brought that to me. So stay tuned for that. But in terms of what happened on the pitch, This was a topsy-turvy game as well. 1-0 Nashville, then 1-1, 2-1, and then Dom Dwyer, 89th minute with the equaliser for Atlanta. Can you believe it?
No, actually.
Yeah, on Sunday morning when we was about to leave your stag weekend, and I said, did you see the score last night? You went, yeah, 2-2. I went, Dom Dwyer scored. And your face, it felt like it ruined the weekend.
Still wasn't the worst thing to happen to me last weekend, though.
He's second of the season now for Atlanta.
Huge that. What are we? Oof, yeah. Second goal already. Oh, slow down.
8th in the East now, Atlanta, but we've got Columbus and Inter Miami at home the next 2. So hopefully good home form can continue. Nashville are 6th in the West. Probably where we expected them at this point. Of course, they've got a lot of home games to come, so it's very exciting for them. And Mukhtar scoring his 4th for the season. CJ Sapong scored his 4th for the season as well. So they've got players there that are scoring goals, which is good.
And Galaxy look in trouble. I know we'll come on to it. Nashville, for me, much more solid pick right now.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, let's talk about Galaxy then, actually, because it links quite well to it. 3-0 defeat at home to Houston. And again, this is another example of where, because we do these full episodes every 2 weeks, that we're praising a team and then we're going back on it and saying, actually, they're not doing very well. 2 defeats in a row now. 2 weak defeats at home. Of course, he drew in between. But 3-0 against Houston, not a good result at all. And the Houston hoodoo continues for LA Galaxy.
Yeah, look, it's another example of this would have surprised you a lot more at the start of the season, especially maybe after 2 or 3 weeks of this season with Galaxy sort of looking fairly promising early on. Houston beating you 3-0 at home is never a good indication. However, Houston, of course, actually having a good season.
Yeah, 7th in the West.
Best season for a long time, so that's got them up to 7th in the West. Chasing down Nashville, who, of course, dropped points against Dom Dwyer's Atlanta United. Sickening. But yeah, it's worrying times for LA. I've seen people interacting with the Galaxy History social media account saying this is all we have now, the history.
Yeah, you do get that feeling. But I'm more confident about LA Galaxy this year than I have been in previous years. I've got to admit that. I do think they will make the playoffs. But yeah, it just seems to be 2 steps forward and 1 back at the moment for Galaxy. So I do believe they will get to where they want to get to eventually. But it's just these little moments in time where they just struggle a little bit. But credit to Houston. The goals were really good goals. Pasha came on in the second half. Basically 2 minutes after he came on, scored arguably the goal of the weekend. And then Olferson scored as well just after that. A couple of step overs, a bit Ronaldo-esque early noughties, step overs, shot into the roof of the net. So 3-0. So credit to Houston. We've got to say that. I know we're talking about LA Galaxy, but credit to Houston. A great result there.
Yeah, absolutely. Where would you like to go? Because there's quite a few talking points.
There is. I tell you what, let's go back to Saturday. Let's round off Saturday because we need to talk about Columbus versus LAFC. So LAFC went to Columbus and won 2-0, which is a great result. This was another game that was a victim to a bit of a weather delay as well. Carlos Vela scored in the second half. He's 6th for the season. Vela, after that hat-trick on the first game, seemed to have a bit of a dry spell, but he's come back. He's scored a few in recent weeks.
Yeah, he's chasing down Dom Dwyer's 2... Oh, no, wait. He's already scored 3 times the amount of goals.
Yeah, well, come on. Lay off Dom.
But yeah, LAFC, it's a real statement of intent the way that they've started this season. Averaging 2 points per game. That's definitely getting you playoffs, and it's definitely getting you in the run-in for the Supporters' Shield, and you're probably going to lift it. Yeah,
exactly. And to come back after the defeat in the week, we lost 2-1 at home to Austin. He's a great result, and he shows that whereas last season and possibly the season before, we felt that LAFC, they were a bit of a... They would have defeats or draws, and they wouldn't come back from them, and that's what really stifled them a bit. This is a great performance. To go there and win after a defeat in a big game really shows what LAFC are about this season. So, great win. Columbus find themselves 12th in the East. They've won 1 of the last 9 games. They're struggling, and we expected more from them.
Yeah, they're a team that you put on a bit of a pedestal because of their reputation. It's not looking good. It really isn't. I think Chicago have got a lot more than they've shown so far, so it's worrying. They could find themselves right down the bottom.
They could do, yeah. And as they saw last year, they had a great end to the season, just wasn't quite good enough. And you don't want to, even though we know that with MLS it's slightly different to other leagues, you can have a poor start and get in the playoffs. You don't want to leave it too long. You don't want too many of these runs where you're losing games or not winning, especially. So Columbus will want to turn that around very quickly. Let's move to Montreal then. RSL, a really impressive win this at Montreal, 2-1.
Yeah, we were just talking about in the last episode about how impressive Montreal have been. The fact that they're right up there challenging for the Supporters' Shield. And of course, they lost to RSL. But that's, taking nothing away from RSL because they find themselves in the top 4 in the West, which is notoriously a very, very difficult place to clamber into. They're above LA, they're above Nashville, who we would always pick for playoffs as well. So it's really impressive.
Yeah, and I think on the last episode of the episode before, we talked about RSL struggling a little bit. It kind of had a good start and then just dropped off a little bit. Well, they've now won 3 of the last 4. The next 4 games, Houston, Vancouver, San Jose and Columbus. So there's points there to be had.
Absolutely. And let's go to New Boys Charlotte, shall we? Because a bit of a battle with Vancouver, who are obviously struggling a little bit, but it doesn't make it an easy game. Charlotte dominating with a 2-1 victory. Yes,
and coming back from 1-0 down as well. Ricketts scored after just 2 minutes, and then after 8 minutes, Shinashiki came back. He scored 3 and 4 now, if you count the US Open Cup goal as well. And we were talking about we need a bit of firepower up front. We said he's got the MLS experience, and he's showing it, a really impressive start.
Worst thing you can do in MLS, score an early goal.
Yeah, because it will get turned around. And we had to wait to the 85th minute for the winner. Daniel Rios got the goal 2 minutes after coming on. There were quite a few players, the super subs that happened this weekend. It weren't just in the Premier League with Pep and
Gundogan.
Yeah. It happened in MLS as well. But Charlotte, 7th in the East now. They've only scored 12 goals this season. So to say that they're 7th in the East is quite impressive, actually. I think they've got the second best home record as well, or definitely in the East. So really impressive stuff from them at home. But a few more goals, if they can bring that into the game, then you did surely a definite for the playoffs.
We were saying this about Chicago early on. They weren't conceding a lot of goals, but they also weren't scoring a lot of goals. They're still bottom. They've now conceded 17 and only scored 11. They lost again, only 1-0 away at New York City.
Yeah, Hebert with the penalty in the first half. New York City, now we have been used to teams winning MLS Cup and struggling the next season, or winning Supporters' Shield and struggling. These guys, now that the Champions League is over with, they're second in the East, they're 1 point off Philly with a game in hand. They are absolutely smashing it at the moment, and fair play to them because they've got 19 points at home from 8 games. Brilliant.
Yeah, and they've actually lost 3 games as well, obviously around the involvement in the Champions League, so it really has been an impressive run. Do you think they're a better side than Philly?
I do, actually.
Yeah?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Philly are a great team, and I'll be honest with Philly, I know they won Supporters' Shield, but I would love Philly and Jim Curtin to go even further than last year and win an MLS Cup. I would love to see that because I think they deserve it. But at the moment, NYCFC are smashing it and they're doing really well. Obviously, you look at the other side of it in Chicago, as you said, bottom of the East, not winning 9, 6 of them are defeats. How long before Ezra Hendrickson is under real pressure with the squad they've got?
I think he is under pressure. There's a lot of money going out on wages, as we'll get to later in the podcast, with the salaries being released. They made moves in the off season. I think there's no way that they should be bottom. Absolutely no way they should be bottom. We were kind of pairing them up with Miami a few weeks ago. Miami, as we'll come on to next, have jumped up to 10th.
Yeah, and this is the thing. There's teams around them at the bottom, and I know like Toronto not won again, but there are teams around Chicago that are picking up points. So they're going to be cut away if they're not careful. They really need a strong summer to get themselves back into any sort of contention because with that team and the money they're spending, not making the playoffs is not good enough, I'm afraid. Not this season, anyway. Into Miami. Lewis Morgan made a return. He couldn't win on his return. A big win this, 2-0 against a Red Bull side who, as we discussed, away from home have been brilliant this year.
Yeah, and I think both Atlanta and Miami would have been happy if you just said at this point, after, 12, 13 games, you'd be level on points with New England Revolution. They'd be pretty happy with that. But just sort of teetering around the edge of the playoffs. Obviously, more to come from New England Revolution. Is there more to come from Miami, or is 10th the ceiling?
I don't think it's the ceiling. I think there's potentially more to come. If you look at this game, they drew 0-0 at Philly in the week as well. So they've shown signs that they can go and do well in these big games. However, based on what we've seen of Miami, we do question, is it the ceiling? Because have we seen them do much better than 10th? No. And have they got the players to potentially go further than 10th? Yes. But they've found themselves now in a position where they're 1 point off the playoffs. I would love to see Miami. I know we have differing views on Miami based on your Orlando allegiance, but I would love to see Miami do well. I would love to see them push on and get into the playoffs. However, knowing Miami like we do, it would not surprise me if next week they get beat 5-0 at home.
Do Miami have to finish above Charlotte? With Charlotte being new boys, Miami not really... I know you claim they made the playoffs. They didn't.
They made the playoffs for the playoffs.
Do they have to finish above Charlotte? Is that a disaster if they don't?
I think Minter Miami should, rather than looking at Charlotte... And
Sorry,
I know,
Minter Miami. Did you just merge Charlotte and Inter Miami together?
looking at Charlotte, Inter Miami, obviously, I don't think they should compare themselves to Charlotte, and we've discussed it before and saying, well, if they get in the playoffs, why haven't Inter Miami? Inter Miami should be just looking at themselves and thinking, no, as a franchise, we need to be winning things, and we need to be proving that we are this big juggernaut potentially of a franchise that could do well abroad and all of these things. They've got everything going for them apart from the important thing, I think, and that's consistency on the pitch. So
the only reason I ask is because people, before a ball was kicked, criticising the Charlotte roster, haven't made enough moves, haven't made enough big signings. Inter Miami, at the opposite end of the scale, they made too many moves, too many big signings, and surely being behind Charlotte is an issue.
Well, it's an issue not making the playoffs again, because it will be now, 3 years, 4 years? So the longer that goes on, then it becomes a bigger and bigger issue. And I guess you're right, with the fact that a new team has come in, Austin as well, finding themselves second in the West. They've come in since Miami. So if these teams can come in and get it right on the pitch, why aren't Miami? They're spending a lot of money on players as well. So, I think let's for Miami, let's see what happens. I'll be honest with you, I do think it'll be a case that they'll end up having a poor summer and just finish 10th again. But I personally would love to see them get into the playoffs. And just even, I don't expect them to do much in the playoffs, but it would be good for them as a franchise just to have something to build on.
We've praised Dallas a lot this season. They lost at home to Minnesota.
Yes, 2-1. And, Dallas is still third in the West, but they've lost the last two now. So maybe they're having that starting to
level off a bit.
Well, we saw it with RSL, and then they've come back. So maybe Dallas is just having a bit of a lull. But overall, you look at Dallas. If you'd have said to Dallas, come the start of June, end of May, you'll be third in the West, I'm sure they would have taken that.
And kings of Western mediocrity, no offense intended, but San Jose won, SKC won. That is literally exactly what you'd expect from these two sides.
Yeah, San Jose have improved. They beat Portland in the week, so there are signs there. Do I think they'll finish much above 11th in the West? Probably not, to be honest. They've got the next 3 away from home as well against LAFC, Nashville, and RSL, so I don't think they'll get much from those games either. SKC, we expected a lot more from them, but they've got 4 points this week since the defeat at Portland. So maybe there are signs that they're turning it around a little bit. But, we'll have to see. They've got Vancouver and NE Revs at home next 2 games. So you'd expect them to perhaps get 6 points from there.
San Jose and SKC separated in the table by 1 team, and that is Seattle Sounders. Where do we even start with Seattle? What is going on?
Yeah, it's we assumed that after the Champions League they would start winning games. They won a
On a game.
a game, but it's not quite happened for them. 5 points off the playoffs. They've got 2 games in hand now. Seattle could easily win those 2 games in hand, and they were suddenly in the playoffs.
Yeah, well, the Seattle syndrome rumbles on for now. Colorado, though, this is an impressive victory, right? Because they're on the edge of the playoffs. We've given Houston a lot of credit for their win over LA Galaxy. Colorado, of course, now up to 18 points, 8th in the West, level with Minnesota and Houston.
Yeah, and a lot different game to what they had in the week at SKC with all them sendings off.
Yeah.
A mate of mine, Phil, went to the game, and I've mentioned him before. He's been to Orlando.
You've got other friends.
I've got one other friend, and he went to SKC, and he said he really enjoyed it. He said the quality of football wasn't quite there, which when you're watching SKC at the moment, I can understand.
Yeah.
But he said it was definitely exciting, especially at the end. So, and he said the atmosphere was good as well. So, but Colorado, yeah, you're right. They're 8th in the West. They've won the last 3 home games, so that's where the form is at the moment. I've been looking at their next games. The next 5 are at home. They've got Charlotte, who have got the worst away record. Vancouver, who are bottom, and then LAFC, SKC, and Montreal. So there's points to be had there.
But you know MLS, that'll be probably 2 points.
Yeah, 2 points against 1 point against LAFC. No, they get 3 points. They'll beat LAFC and lose against the rest. Right, coming up, we've got Crisis Right. We've also got another entry into the Eloy Room 101. But first, we need to do something. We need to bring back a feature that always makes us smile. Whether you've had a bad weekend like Elliot, where you're getting embarrassed on your stag do, and your team have been, I don't want to say cheated out of a win, but probably should have got the win. Or whether you've had a good weekend like me, seeing Elliot embarrass himself on his stag do and Don Dwyer getting an equaliser for your team. This never fails to cheer us up. It's a ray of sunshine. If you don't know what the ray of sunshine is, Ray Hudson, one of our favourite commentators, summarisers, definitely our favourite one who's working in Miami at the moment. Whenever he commentates, he comes out with some lines that are just gems. They're so good and it always cheers us up. So let's have a look what he got up to this weekend. Obviously, as we've said, Inter Miami beat New York Red Bulls 2-0, and he's had some fun. So the first one, just play this and then we'll talk about it because I love it.
SMS is in like a jackrabbit on a hot date, beautifully played through again.
Like a jackrabbit on a hot day.
I can't understand him. How Americans and Canadians understand this? I have no... What's he even said here?
SMS is in like a jackrabbit on a hot date, beautifully played through again.
Jackrabbit?
Jackrabbit on a hot day.
What does that even mean?
Hey, we'll find out one day. The next one is this was after a save from the goalkeeper.
Drake Calendar's got to be a kangaroo on a trampoline here.
We had to wait for it.
Forgot what it was called.
We had to wait for it.
Drake Calendar's got to be a kangaroo on a...
What could it be, Ray?
Trampoline!
And finally, this was when Robert Taylor got the second goal to round it off in the 89th minute.
And this game is put to bed with Taylor's hot water bottle.
Put to bed with Taylor's hot water bottle. There we go. That is this week's Ray of Sunshine. Ray Hudson, as we always say, never change.
I'm confused as always.
MLS UK Show with Elliot Holman and Henry Hewitt.
Okay, so it's been a big feature on the MLS UK Show over the last couple of years, and I thought this week I'd bring back the Crisis Right.
Yeah, we've taken a different sort of route this year with the games that you like to play. You've kind of done a different one every week, but we thought for some news that's just come out. Now, bearing in mind, I saw the news came out, but knowing you were going to play this game, I have not looked at any of these. You have decided to bring back a classic feature of the MLS UK show, the Jason Crisis Right.
Yes, so it's a higher or lower game. I will give Henry a stat, and he has to tell me if the next one is higher or lower.
Okay.
Are you ready to play?
Yes.
I don't get to say this as much now. I feel like I need... Henry Hewitt. Come on down. I missed the music as well. Okay, so the MLS salaries have been released for 2022, and we're looking at the top 10.
Okay.
I'm going to give you the name of a player and their salary. You've got to tell me if the next player I give you is higher or lower. But first, I want your opinion on whether they should be higher or lower.
Right, okay.
Okay. So, Xavi Hernandez, $6 million in 2022 he's going to earn. Should Higuain be higher or lower?
Based on likability, Chicharito or Higuain, I'd probably say Higuain should be lower.
You think he should be lower? And what do you think he actually is, higher or lower?
I actually think he'll be lower.
He is lower, but only just 5.79 actually. Oof. So basically 5.8. Only 200k the difference there. Higher or lower than Higuain, Josie Altidore.
Oh.
Should he be, and is he?
Gotta be lower, surely.
You think Josie's lower?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, he is 4.2.
Okay. Yeah,
So-
that makes... Well, it does make sense, and yet it also doesn't, because he's not really playing much, is he?
$4.2 million for Josie Altidore. But is Alejandro Pozuelo higher or lower?
I'd say lower. He should be higher, but I think lower.
Okay, so you think he should be higher, but he
Yeah.
is lower.
Yeah.
He's higher. 4.6 million.
Good for him.
Yeah, so very close one there. Higher or lower than Alejandro Pozuelo at 4.6 million? Carlos Vela.
Higher, surely. Come on. I'd pay him higher.
It's lower.
Oh, what? It's if he's accepting that. Pozuelo's a really good player, I've got to say. But yeah, I thought Vela would be higher than that.
Carlos Vela, only $4 million.
Only 4 million.
Only 4 million.
Only.
However, is Lucas Zelarayan higher or lower than Carlos Vela? First question, should he be? Second question, is he?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it?
I think he's going to be lower. It's got to be lower. Surely, it's Carlos Vela.
You think he deserves to be lower?
Based on his name, I guess that would be it.
Zelarayan is lower, $3.7 million this year.
How does he sleep only on $3 million?
I'll do one more.
Okay.
Because we've got the two assist kings. Zelarayan, of course, on 3.7. Higher or lower, Carlos Gil.
Carlos Gil. Oh, that's a tough one. I think he's got to be higher. Surely, he was MVP.
You're wrong. It's 3.5
Wow.
mil. He's lower, on less money than Lucas Zelarayan.
I should be Carlos Gil's agent.
So there is this year's MLS salaries, according to the MLSPA. Well done, Henry. It was a bang average effort.
It was. Shakira's number one.
Shaqiri is number one. I kind of knew you'd know that, so
Yeah.
I didn't include him.
8 million, I saw.
8 million.
And who's number two?
Number 2 is Xavi Hernandez.
Very good. Good for him.
Henry Hewitt, go and sit down.
Well, I can't sit down, Elliot, because we've got to move on and we've got to open up the door again. It's the dreaded door to the Eli Room 101. We've been putting things into the Eli Room 101 that we don't like, and that's not judging Eli Room, by the way. We do like Eli Room. He's a very good goalkeeper. Wow. However, his name just fit with a feature we wanted to do based on Room 101.
What's going in there this week, Henry?
Well, this week it's going to be weather delays. Now, I know we can't
no
help
argument.
them.
Move on.
You can't help them, especially in some areas of the country. But it just means for us in the UK, we've got to wait and stay up even longer to watch the matches. And then if you look at this in the Nashville game and the Columbus game, it just means that the match ends and it's like an empty stadium. So I didn't like that. It was, in fact, in Nashville, it looked like they were just Atlanta fans there at the end. That Dwyer goal was just celebrated by the minimal people that were actually in the ground. it's one of those things. You can't help it. I do understand that, and I understand that it rains a lot heavier in some areas of the States than it does here in the UK. You can probably postpone matches here in the UK knowing that you can play them later on in the season and teams aren't having to travel as long and whatever. However, just on a pure basis of selfishness, really, of me wanting to see packed stadiums and also wanting to watch a match that finishes before 4 a.m., I want to throw weather delays into the Eli Room 101. Do you agree with me, or do you think I'm being harsh?
Orlando have had some pretty awful ones due to the weather that they have in Florida. I know it's because of the risk of thunder and lightning. I understand that. But we're putting weather and the delays in there as a whole. So obviously,
Yeah.
bung the weather and the delays in there, and there won't be any need for them. So
Yeah, I think Miami had one as well. So, this week we've got, what have we had in there? We have so far, we've had VAR, or the referees that deal with VAR. We've had 0-0s go in there as well. Yeah. Now we've got weather delays. I think we've had something else going as well. It's these things are building up. We're gonna have to get it's over here. You can't see it if you're watching on YouTube. You can't see it. It's off camera, but we're gonna have to get a bigger room.
I can't afford that.
Right, before we do our predictions for this weekend in MLS, we want to talk about some friendlies that have been announced. Nature's healing itself after a few years, and the European big dogs are heading over to the States to face MLS teams on their pre-season tours. So there's been these have been announced over the course of the last few weeks, but recently in the last week or so has been quite a few. So this is what we've got so far. We've got Inter Miami versus Barcelona, 19th of July. That should be a good game. DC United have got Bayern Munich travelling to them. Minnesota versus Everton as well. These are all in the space of about a week, by the way.
Classic Adrian Heath derby, that.
It is, yeah. Charlotte, their first ever match against a Premier League opposition will be Chelsea on the 20th of July. Orlando, you're facing Arsenal. And then New York Red Bulls face Barcelona on the 30th of July as well. So we spoke before about the All-Star game, and now that they seem to be playing Liga MX every year, we like that they play a European team as the All-Star game. Can this give us a bit of a taste of that? Maybe in a few years we could come back to this.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously the All-Star game is one of the things that kind of alerted me to MLS back in the day. So that's always important that you get a high-profile team, but love to see it. Really good. Obviously, soccer has grown and grown and grown in America. I completely understand the clubs want to get over there. They want to go and they want to play in front of fans, maybe get new fans, increase their fan base over in the States, because, there is certainly a market for it. And that's because of what MLS has achieved in the last few years. So I think it's incredible.
Yeah, so excited for some of these. And yeah, I think it's a good marker. I know it's pre-season and the Premier League teams aren't necessarily to the standard they would be a few weeks or a few months later when the season starts. But it's a good marker to see where MLS is at, I think.
Exactly, yeah. I'm aware we need to do predictions next. It's never my favourite part of the show because I'm terrible at it. I've probably still yet to get a single one right all season or something ridiculous. So how did I do?
Well, you may remember on the last episode that you pulled it back to...
Draws it out so much. Just tell me how bad I was.
No, I like it. It's 3-2, you remember? And it was because we drew, but there was you got a 0-0 correct, so you got some bonus points for that. Well, based on the last time we did predictions, Elliot, you'll be shocked to know that it's now 3-3. You won again. This time legitimately, not by...
Always been my favourite bit of the show, actually, this.
Not by a loophole. You actually got two bang-on correct scores last time. You said New York City FC would beat Columbus 2-0. And you said Miami would draw to DC 2-2. None of us said that Portland would win 7-2 against SKC, although we did both say that Portland would win that match. I said Seattle would beat Minnesota 3-1. So I only got one correct score.
Just one.
You got two. But because you also said that Orlando would beat Toronto, whereas I said it'd be a draw... That's where
you got to have more faith in Orlando, mate. Big team.
I know. I might start doing now, but yeah, you won that one, so you've pulled it back to 3-3. So we level pegging heading into this one. Now, this week, I should say, MLS teams are in US Open action, so good luck to all of them, especially to Inter Miami, who are away at Orlando. And then we reconvene at the weekend for more MLS. So let's start off on Saturday evening.
California derby.
Yes, LAFC versus San Jose. Where's this one going?
LAFC for me, 3-0.
Yeah, I've got to agree. I'm going to say San Jose have been doing okay lately, but I still think LAFC will win 2-0.
I think I've gone too heavy there. Atlanta are at home early hours of Sunday morning against Columbus Crew. What are you saying?
Good home team, Atlanta, as we always say, and I think they'll win again. I think 3-1.
2-0 for me to Atlanta. Then New York Red Bulls, sorry, or... We're going to get cancelled for that, aren't we? New York Red Bulls are at home to DC United.
Red Bulls not great at home at the moment, but I think they will start. They'll get a win in this one. I think 1-0.
Red Bulls 3-1 winners here.
Toronto v Chicago.
Battle
at the bottom of the East.
The Wooden Spoon Derby. Fancy Chicago.
Yeah. What score?
1-0.
I think 2-1 to Toronto.
Montreal are hosting FC Cincinnati.
Cincinnati are doing okay. They're doing well, but I think Montreal will win. They'll get back to winning ways at home. I think it'll be 3-1.
I'm going 2-2.
New England Revolution versus Philadelphia.
Yeah, would have been a huge game last year.
Yeah, not so much now.
I'm going to go 1-1.
2-1 Philadelphia.
Orlando face FC Dallas.
Fourth in the East versus third in the West.
And both had a little bit of a wobble. I'm going to go Orlando 1-0.
You said I should be more confident in Orlando, but I'm going to say 1-1.
Brilliant. Miami versus Portland, both chasing down a playoff spot.
Yeah, Portland, I think Miami will win this at home. I think 2-0.
Okay. 2-1 Portland.
Minnesota versus New York City FC.
New York City to steal a late winner, 2-1.
1-1.
Okay. Colorado host Nashville SC.
Colorado doing well at home. I think it'll continue. I think it'll be 3-2.
1-0 Colorado.
SKC versus Vancouver. Surely if SKC are going to get back to winning ways, it's got to be this one. Well, I say that they did win in the week, but I mean, if they're going to carry on this form,
yeah, I will go 2-0 SKC.
3-0 SKC.
RSL host Houston.
Houston, big win against LA Galaxy, but I do fancy RSL at home. I think it'll be only by the odd goal, though. I think 2-1.
2-1, okay. I'm going to do it. 0-0.
Wow. You just think, I'm going to get some bonus points.
0-0.
LA Galaxy versus Austin. Surely this won't be 0-0.
No, I think this will be 3-2 to LA Galaxy.
2-1 Austin, I'm going with.
Okay.
And finally, Seattle versus Charlotte.
Seattle win this 2-0.
Yeah, Charlotte's away form isn't great, so I'm going to go Seattle 3-0, actually. And then we have a bit of a break. I'm going to Mexico. I've conveniently planned a holiday for when there's a bit of a break in MLS action. You're going on your honeymoon end of July. Maybe you should have got married a bit earlier.
Yeah, sorry, I did my best. I mean, it was booked 4 years ago.
So we're going to do a stoppage time episode next week, and then we're going to try and do some special episodes while I'm away before reconvening when I'm back. But before we leave this episode, we need to find out who the player of the game with a changing name is.
Yes, so they started their career at Laval. They then went to Liverpool, spent 7 years there, making 88 appearances. Played for Lens, Charlton, not Charlotte, Portsmouth, Birmingham, Monaco, Marseille. Rounded off their career at Seattle, where they then became assistant coach. And their name is...
Jimmy Traore.
Spot on.
Yes. As I said before, I got it off the Steve Zakuani documentary and the fact that he scored that own goal against Burnley. watch it after this episode. Watch it because it's like do you know? Remember in this country, they used to. I don't know if they did it in the States. They might have done it with like NFL sort of gaffes. Just basically bad bits of play. They used to bring out videos. Tend to be at Christmas over here where it's just football own goals and like the best own goals ever or the best upsets ever. That own goal would be on that, definitely.
Well, he's now 42 because he was born in 1980. And random fact for you, that means he's the same age as Estelle off of American Boy.
Wow.
USA.
Well, there we go. And that, if you're going to take one thing from this episode, it's that. Thanks very much for being with us, whether you're listening on your podcast provider or whether you are watching on YouTube. Don't forget, if you are listening on your podcast provider, subscribe if you don't already. And then whenever we release a new episode of this or Stoppage Time, it goes straight onto your phone and you get notified of it as well. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe, click the notification bell, if that's still a thing. I keep saying it and I've not checked if it's still a thing. And also feel free to share it as well. We really do appreciate it. As I said, we'll be back next week with a Stoppage Time episode. And then after that, we're going to try and do some special things over when I'm away. If not, we'll see you in a few weeks' time when MLS returns.
Breaking.
Yes.
The bell has not ended. It's still on.
Well, click it if you're watching on YouTube. If you are, I forgot to say, if you are listening on your podcast provider, don't forget to give us a rating. And Elliot is already halfway through. He's now finished the amount of stars that you need to give us. And just for the benefits of our people listening on a podcast, can you say it out loud?
LA Galaxy style, 5 stars only.
Yeah, I thought when you're putting 5 fingers up, it's all right for YouTube, but on our podcast provider, don't quite work. So that's it from us. Thanks very much for being involved. And Elliot, would you like to say anything before, as I always do, end it with one word?
Yes, don't leak the footage from the weekend.
Can't promise that. See ya.